Hinduism balances both the material and spiritual aspirations of people. It has elements of this worldly, lokayata, and otherworldly, atita philosophies. In ancient India, the atheists were known as Carvakas or Lokayatas. They denounced the Vedas, Vedic rituals, and all forms of divine worship. They did not believe in God or soul and advised people to make enjoyment as the sole aim of their lives, because they believed that death was the end of all and that there was no afterlife. Although the Carvakas disappeared from the religious scene of India thousands of years ago, their philosophy lives through Hinduism in a subtle manner. It may sound incredible, but some elements of Carvaka philosophy is reflected in Hinduism in the form of Purusharthas, or principal aims of human life. The four principal aims proposed in Hinduism are religious duty or dharma, wealth or artha, sensuous pleasure or kama, and liberation or moksha. Of these four, the Carvakas ignore the first and the last and consider the middle two, that is wealth and enjoyment, as the chief aims of human life. I am not suggesting here that Hinduism derived these aims from the Carvakas. What is obvious is the similarities between the two. The order in which the four aims are arranged is also important. There is a specific reason why dharma comes first, followed by artha, kama, and finally moksha. Dharma is important in the formative years of human life. It is the foundation upon which our lives are supposed to be built. In our childhood, during our years as students, we are expected to learn the basics of our religion, practice self-discipline, social and moral values, and acquire religious knowledge. Artha and kama become important during the adulthood, when we become householders and focus on acquiring wealth and enjoying life. In this phase, we engage in various activities to ensure the continuity of our families and various social and religious institutions. Moksha becomes important as we reach old age, when we are expected to relinquish family responsibilities and renounce worldly life in order to work for our salvation. There is also a cosmological dimension to the four aims of human life. The presiding deity of dharma is Brahma, whose consort is Saraswati, the goddess of learning. The presiding deity of artha is Vishnu, whose consort is Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. The presiding deity of kama is Lord Shiva, whose consort is Parvati or Uma, the mother goddess or the goddess of fertility. In old age, we leave behind all preferences and desires and focus solely on self-realization. In this phase, the presiding deity is the individual self, Atman, or the universal self called Brahman. In Hinduism, the emphasis is mainly on cultivating sattva or purity and attaining liberation, not on empty ritualism or pretentious devotionalism. In initial stages, devotion to God is not as important as cultivating divine qualities and performing certain obligatory duties with a sense of humility and surrender. Faith and devotion will come naturally to the one who has purified himself and disciplined himself. This is true in case of both Saivism and Vaishnavism. Bhakti Marg or the path of devotion or devotional worship of God is said to be the easiest path of all to attain salvation. But it is easy for those whose moral and spiritual foundation is strong. A vast majority of people spend their lives in the pursuit of wealth and enjoyment. In a world that is increasingly becoming materialistic, dharma and moksha are rarely pursued. In this regard, we are not much different from the Carvakas or the Lokayatas of ancient India. It is important to remember that religion on its own does not offer salvation. Religion can be a source of delusion if we use it to define our identities, further our selfish agendas, or strengthen our individual and collective egos. We have to practice dharma or righteousness before we can work for other aims of life. We have to practice religious discipline to bring transformation in ourselves so that we can stabilize our minds and establish in ourselves